Kelly had a best friend at Bell Labs, and his name was Clinton Davisson. He won the Nobel Prize in the late 1930s. But before either one of these guys became famous, they shared a laboratory in the teens and 20s at Bell Labs. And they were kind of the original odd couple. Kelly was robust. He had extraordinary amounts of energy. I wonder if he might have had ADD. He was, in those days before then, he was always on the move. He was not somebody who would linger over things too long. And Davisson was kind of the opposite. Kelly was a fairly good-sized man. Davisson was incredibly thin, phlegmatic, slow-moving. I think Davisson weighed like 110 pounds sometimes. He would often be sick. He'd go home and he'd wear his stocking cap and his little nightgown and sit in his study at home and write equations, and Kelly would go visit him and see how he was doing. They shouldn't have got along in theory, but they did, and Kelly actually was awed by Davisson. And in some ways it speaks to why Kelly was so good at what he did and why Bell Labs became what it became. And the thing about Davisson was that he couldn't help his colleagues with the actual engineering of the projects that they were working on. But what he could do is he could answer questions nobody else in the staff of Bell Labs could do. He would give them a deeper, more fundamental understanding, for instance, with vacuum tubes, of what was going on deep within the processes of these tubes. And what Kelly realized was, yes, that Davisson could answer questions nobody else could, but that by imparting a kind of fundamental understanding of what was happening with these electronic devices, the staff under him on the tube shop, for instance, could make improvements that were not just twice as good or 3 times as good, but orders of magnitude better. It showed him that knowledge gives an unbelievable power beyond just mere tinkering. And in many ways, Davisson became the model for those Bell Labs researchers in later years. Not everybody was in research at Bell Labs. A lot of people were in development. In fact, the majority were. But those researchers who were pursuing pure knowledge and could be tapped for that, Davisson was Kelly's model.